Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or your COPD, is a major cause of your chronic morbidity and mortality throughout the world. Many people suffer from this disease for years and they die prematurely from it or its complication. Your COPD is the fourth leading cause of death in the world, and further increases in its prevalence and mortality can be predicted in the coming decades. As you can see on the slide, COPD may include diseases that causes your airflow limitation. Example of this is your chronic bronchitis and your emphysema. COPD can be either chronic bronchitis, emphysema, or a combination of both. Meron ding other diseases such as your cystic fibrosis, bronchiectasis, and asthma. However, asthma now is considered as a separate disorder and is classified as an abnormal airway condition. So the definition of your COPD, according to the Global Initiative for Chronic Obstructive Lung Disease, or your GOLD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is a preventable and treatable disease with some significant extrapulmonary effects that may contribute to the severity in individual patients. Its pulmonary component is characterized by airflow limitation that is not fully reversible. The airflow limitation is usually progressive and associated with an abnormal inflammatory response in the lung to noxious particle or gases. So sabi, for the chronic obstructive lung disease, preventable and can be treated, but then it is already irreversible. Okay? So the mechanism of underlying airflow limitation in the COPD, pag nagkaroon ng inflammation, magkakaroon ng small airway disease and your parenchymal destruction, thereby it causes now your airflow limitation. Let's go to the first disease, which is your chronic bronchitis. It is a disease of the airways. Is defined as the presence of cough and sputum production for at least 3 months in each of 2 consecutive years. In many cases, smoke or other environmental pollutants irritate the airways, resulting in hypersecretion of your mucus and your inflammation. So, magsisimula lahat yon sa inflammation. For your emphysema naman, emphysema is an impaired gas exchange that results from destruction of the walls of your overdistended alveoli. Emphysema is a pathological term that describes an abnormal distension of the air spaces beyond the terminal bronchioles with destruction of the walls in the alveoli. It is already the end stage of a process that has progressed slowly for many years. So there are different classification of your emphysema, pero dito sa slide, dalawa lang ang nakalagay dyan because these two is more common. So we have our centri-acinar. Here we have also your panacinar, paraseptal, and your centrilobular emphysema. Meron din siyang undefined emphysema, pero mas common itong dalawa. It's your centrilobular and your centripancinar. We have your centrilobular emphysema and your pancinar emphysema. Now, let's go to the classification of COPD according to your spirometry. So, we have your stage 0 at risk. Stage 1 is your mild COPD. Stage 2 is your moderate COPD. Stage 3 is your severe COPD. And your stage 4 is your very severe COPD. Let's dive in for the classifications. So, stage 1, pag sinabing mild COPD, it is already characterized by mild airflow limitation. So, the symptoms here now is chronic cough and sputum production may be present but not always. At this stage, the individual is usually unaware that his or her lung function is abnormal. For the stage 2, which is moderate COPD, it is already characterized by worsening airflow limitation. So, meron na siyang shortness of breath, typically developing on exertion, and the cough and sputum production sometimes is already present. Dito sa stage 2 na to, it is typically the patients already seek medical attention because of the chronic respiratory system symptoms or an exacerbation of their diseases. So, may mga mas nararamdaman na nila ang kanilang respiratory symptoms. So, stage 3, severe COPD, it is already characterized by further worsening of your airflow limitations, and there is a great shortness of breath, reduced na ang exercise capacity. The patient already complains of fatigue and are repeated exacerbations that almost always have an impact on the patient's quality of life. For the stage 4, which is a very severe COPD, it is already characterized by a severe airflow limitation. Your respiratory failure is defined as an arterial partial pressure that is less than your 60 millimeter mercury, with or without your arterial partial pressure of carbon dioxide, which is greater than 50 millimeter mercury. So, while breathing air at sea level. So, meron tayong presence of your respiratory failure, and it will lead to the effect on the heart, such as your cor pulmonale. So, clinical signs of cor pulmonale is already included, and there is already an elevation of your jugular venous pressure and a pitting ankle edema. So, bakit naka-asterisk ang stage 0 at risk? Because they consider at risk for COPD or a chronic cough, at risk for chronic cough and sputum production, pero meron siyang normal spirometry. Parang sinasabi na it is no longer included on the stages or on the classification of your COPD. Risk factors for COPD. First is your genes. So, COPD is a polygenic disease and a classic example of your gene-environment interaction. The genetic risk factor that is best documented is a severe hereditary deficiency of your alpha-1 antitrypsin. It is a major circulating inhibitor of serine protease. So, although your alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency is relevant to only a small part of the world's population, it illustrates the interaction between your genes and environmental exposure, which leads to your COPD. Significant familial risk of airflow obstruction has been observed also in smoking siblings of patients with severe COPD. Second risk factors is your exposures to particle. We go first to your inhalational exposures, because individuals may be exposed to a variety of different types of inhaled particles over their lifetime. It is helpful to think in terms of the total burden of your inhaled particle. Each type of particle, depending on its size and composition, may contribute a different weight to the risk, and the total risk will depend on the integral of the inhaled exposures. Under your exposure to particles is your tobacco smoke. Cigarette smoking is by far the most commonly encountered risk factor for your COPD. Your cigarette smokers have a higher prevalence of respiratory symptoms and lung function abnormalities, a greater annual rate of a decline, and a greater COPD mortality. And then next is your occupational dust and chemicals. Occupational exposures are an underappreciated risk factor for COPD. This exposure includes your organic and inorganic dust and chemical agents and fumes. Another exposure to particles is your indoor air pollution. Wood, animal dung, crop residues, and coal, typically burned in open fires or poorly functioning stoves may lead to a very high levels of indoor air pollution. The evidence that indoor pollution from biomass cooking and heating is poorly ventilated dwellings is an important risk for your COPD. So almost 3 billion people worldwide uses biomass and coal as their main source of energy for cooking, heating, and other household needs. So the population at risk worldwide is very large. Another exposure to particles is your outdoor air pollution. High levels of urban air pollutions are harmful to individuals with existing heart or lung disease. The role of your outdoor air pollution in causing COPD is unclear but appears to be small when compared with that of cigarette smoking. Next risk factor, we have your lung growth and development. Lung growth is related to processes occurring during gestation, birth, and exposure during your childhood. So, reduced maximal attained lung function may identify individuals who are at increased risk for the development of COPD. Next risk factor, we have your oxidative stress. The lungs are continuously exposed to oxidants generated either endogenously from phagocytes and other cell types or exogenously from air pollutants or cigarette smoke. In addition, intracellular oxidants such as those derived from mitochondrial electron transport are involved in many cellular signaling pathways. So your lung cells now are protected against the oxidative challenge by well-developed enzymatic and non-enzymatic system. When the balance between the oxidants and antioxidants shifts in the favor of the oxidants, then there will be a oxidative stress that will happen. Now, oxidative stress not only produces direct injurious effect in the lungs but also activates molecular mechanisms that initiate lung inflammation. Then we have our gender. The role of gender in determining COPD risk remains unclear, but in the past, most studies shows that COPD prevalence and mortality were greater among men than women. We have also the age, and then as our for the geriatric, so yung wear and tear, the older the person is, the higher the risk for a COPD. Now we go to your respiratory infections. Infections that can either be viral or bacterial may contribute to the pathogenesis and progression of your COPD. And the bacterial colonization associated with airway inflammation and may also play a significant role in your exacerbation. Socioeconomic status. There is evidence that the risk of developing COPD is inversely related to your socioeconomic status. It is not clear, however, whether this pattern reflects your exposure to indoor and outdoor air pollutants, crowding, poor nutrition, or other factors that are related to the low socioeconomic status. Nutrition. The role of nutrition as an independent risk factor for the development of COPD is still unclear, but malnutrition and weight loss can reduce your respiratory muscle strength and endurance, apparently by reducing both respiratory muscle mass and the strength of the remaining muscle fibers. So, the association of starvation and anabolic or catabolic status with the development of emphysema has been shown in experimental studies in animals. Comorbidities is your asthma, so may be a risk factor for the development of COPD, although the evidence is not conclusive. Pathological changes in COPD. So let's look into kung ano nangyayari sa katawan ng patient who has a COPD. First, here is your proximal airway. So the trachea and the bronchi now is greater than 2 millimeter internal diameter. So sa inflammatory cells natin, there is a increase in macrophages, increased ang cytotoxic T lymphocytes natin, and a few neutrophils or eosinophils. While on the structural changes, increased ang goblet cells, enlarged ang submucosal glands natin, both leading to your mucus hypersecretions and squamous metaplasia of your epithelium. Second pathologic change is your peripheral airways. Your bronchioles now is less than 2 millimeter internal diameter. So, masyado na siyang maliit yung airway mo. The inflammatory cells now has an increase in macrophages, increased ang T lymphocytes, increased ang B lymphocytes, lymphoid follicles, increased ang fibroblasts, few neutrophils or eosinophils. For the structural changes, airway wall thickening, peribronchial fibrosis, meron na din tayong luminal inflammatory exudate and an airway narrowing or your obstructive bronchiolitis. Increase din ang inflammatory response and exudate correlated with the disease severity. So, maliit ang airway tapos inflamed pa yung sa loob. And then meron siyang exudate, so the patient really has a difficulty now or hindi patent ang kanyang airway. Next, we have your lung parenchyma, the respiratory bronchioles, and your alveolar. If you could remember, for the lung parenchyma, meron tayong centrilobular emphysema and your panacinar emphysema. But before that, we go to your inflammatory cells. Again, increase pa rin ang macrophages natin. Increased ang CD8 T lymphocytes. And then for the structural changes, alveolar wall destruction, apoptosis of your epithelial and your endothelial cells. If you could recall kanina sa slide natin with regards to centrilobular and emphysema and panacinar, for the centrilobular emphysema, there is a dilatation and the destruction of your respiratory bronchioles, most commonly seen in smokers, and your panacinar emphysema, there is a destruction of your alveolar sacs as well as respiratory bronchioles. They are most commonly seen in your alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. And then let's go back to your pulmonary vasculature. For the pulmonary vasculature, there is a inflammatory cells, increase ang macrophages natin, increase ang T lymphocytes, structural changes, there is a thickening of your intima, endothelial cell dysfunction, increase ang smooth muscles mo, thereby causing you a pulmonary hypertension. So let's proceed to the pathogenesis of your COPD. As you can see on the first part, this is cigarette smoke, which is a leading cause of your COPD. Pwede din yung biomass particles and particulates. So once it already goes to the host factor or dun sa patient, ma-amplify yung kanyang mechanism. Di ba normally kasi for your respiratory tract, nag-i-inflame talaga siya. Pero pag sa patient who has COPD, mas na-amplify yun. So mas nagkakaroon ng lung inflammation at saka yung pathological changes na yon. So once na-inflamed, nagkakaroon ng lung inflammation. So remember, naalala niyo yung oxidative stress kanina? It has to be an oxidant plus your antioxidant. So pag nagkaroon ng mas marami ang oxidants, then you will have your stress. Inflamed na plus stress, and then also your proteinases. Your repair mechanism will try now to repair kung ano yung man ang naging destruction na na-cause nung cigarette smoke at saka biomass particles. Pero pag hindi na kaya, you will have your COPD pathology. Okay? Now let's go to your inflammatory cells in COPD. So your inflammatory cells will be you will have an in-depth discussion once you already have your inflammatory disorders. So for the neutrophils, increased in sputum of your normal smokers. Further, it will increase in COPD and related to diseases severity. Few neutrophils are seen in tissue. They may be important in mucus hypersecretions and through release of your proteases. Macrophages, they are greatly increased in numbers as seen in your airway lumen, lung parenchyma, and bronchoalveolar lavage fluid. They are derived from blood monocytes that differentiates within your lung tissue. They produces an increased inflammatory mediators and proteases in COPD patient in response to cigarette smoke and may show defective phagocytosis. For the T lymphocytes, both CD4 and your CD8 cells are increased in the airway wall and lung parenchyma with an increase in your CD8 CD4 ratio. Your CD8 T cells and Th1 cells, which secrete interferon and express the chemokine receptors, your CD8 plus cells may be cytotoxic to alveolar cells, contributing to their destruction. Your B lymphocytes, there is an increase in peripheral airways and within lymphoid follicles, possibly as a response to chronic colonization and infection of the airways. And then eosinophil, increase in eosinophil proteins in sputum and increase in eosinophils in airway wall during exacerbation. Epithelial cells, they may be activated by a cigarette smoke to produce inflammatory mediators. So this happens for the inflammatory cascade in COPD. As you can see, pareho na may airflow limitation ang asthma natin and COPD. But disregard nyo muna yung asthma, we go to your COPD. Once the cigarette smoke triggers or nag-amplify siya sa hosts, so you will have your alveolar macrophage, epithelial cells activation, your CD8 or your T lymphocytes plus your neutrophils. Once they all act out, there will be a small airway fibrosis and alveolar destruction, thereby magkakaroon ka ng airflow limitation and your airway limitations is not fully reversible. So that is your inflammatory cascade in your COPD. So what is the inflammatory mediators involved in your COPD? First, here is your chemotactic factors. Under your chemotactic factors is your lipid mediators. Example of this is your leukotriene B4 that attracts your neutrophils and your T lymphocytes. While your chemokines, an example of this is your interleukin 8 that attracts your neutrophils and monocytes. While your pro-inflammatory cytokines, example of this is your tumor necrosis factor that will amplify the inflammatory process and may contribute to some of the systemic effect of your COPD. And then growth factors, example of this is your transforming growth factor beta that may induce fibrosis in your small airway. Pathophysiology for your COPD. So let's try to have a good understanding on how the underlying disease process in COPD leads to the characteristic physiologic abnormalities and symptoms. Let's go first to your airflow limitation and air trapping. This peripheral airway obstruction progressively traps air during expiration, resulting in your hyperinflation. Although emphysema is more associated with gas exchange abnormalities, it does contribute to air trapping during your expiration. This is especially so as alveolar attachment to small airways are destroyed when the disease becomes more severe. So hyperinflation reduces your inspiratory capacity such that functional residual capacity increases, particularly during exercise and this results in dyspnea and limitation of exercise capacity. Second, we have your gas exchange abnormalities. It is a result in your hypoxemia and hypercapnia and have several mechanisms in your COPD. In general, the gas transfer worsens as the disease progresses. And then the peripheral airway obstruction also results in your ventilation perfusion imbalance and combines with ventilatory muscle impaired functions in severe diseases to reduce your ventilation, leading to a carbon dioxide retention. Now, the abnormalities in your alveolar ventilation and a reduced pulmonary vascular bed further worsens the ventilation perfusion abnormalities. For the mucus hypersecretion, it is a result in a chronic productive cough and is a feature of your chronic bronchitis and is not necessarily associated with your airflow limitation. So when present, it is due to your mucus metaplasia with increased numbers of goblet cells and enlarged submucosal glands in response to your chronic airway irritation by cigarette smoke and other noxious agents. Several mediators and proteases stimulate mucus hypersecretion, and many of them exert their effects through the activation of your epidermal growth factor receptor. We also have your pulmonary hypertension. It can be a mild to moderate pulmonary hypertension and it may develop in the course of your COPD and is due to hypoxic vasoconstriction of small pulmonary arteries, eventually resulting in your structural changes that includes your intimal hyperplasia and later smooth muscle hypertrophy or hyperplasia. For the systemic features, it is increasingly recognized that COPD involves several systemic features, particularly in patients with severe diseases, and that these have a major impact on survival and comorbid disease. So, ano tong mga systemic features natin? First is we have your cachexia. Cachexia is the loss of fat-free mass. So, common sa mga COPD patient natin, super payat sila. And then we also have your skeletal muscle wasting or also known as your apoptosis or your disuse atrophy. Then they are also prone for your osteoporosis. They are also siguro possible sa depression is that on their physical and their social. Kaya nade-depress ang patient natin. And then nomochromic normocytic anemia. And then plus an increased risk of your cardiovascular disease associated with increase in C-reactive protein or your CRP. So, pag nasa hospital tayo, maririnig natin ang exacerbation. So, ang exacerbation is represents a further amplification of the inflammatory response in the airway of your COPD patient and may be triggered by infection with bacteria or viruses or by environmental. Remember, our COPD is treatable and preventable, but it is irreversible already. So you would experience the patients who has COPD will experience from time to time an exacerbation. So mawawala yung mga signs and symptoms and then afterwards magkakaroon ulit. So that's what you call your exacerbation. For the assessment and monitoring of the disease, we have our key indicators, or these are the classic signs and symptoms that you can see for a patient who has a COPD. So first here, we have your dyspnea. Your dyspnea has to be a progressive. So progressive na siya, tapos it worsens over time. Usually worse with your exercise. And it is persistent. Present siya every day. And the patient will describe dyspnea as an increased effort to breathe, heaviness, air hunger, or gasping. For the chronic cough, it may be an intermittent and maybe unproductive type of your cough. For the chronic sputum production, any pattern of chronic sputum production may indicate COPD, and history of exposure to risk exposure or risk factors, especially on your tobacco smoke, occupational dust and chemicals, smoke from home, cooking and heating fuel. So, pag naging present ito lahat, once you assess the patient, then mas malaki ang chance niyang maging COPD yung diagnosis for the patient. Other signs and symptoms, we have our wheezing and your crackles. I hope you still remember the difference of wheezing, crackles, and other adventitious sound. Weight loss, nagkakaroon sila ng weight loss, and then also your barrel chest for emphysema. So the patient also uses the accessory muscles for breathing. Barrel chest, sana naalala nyo din yung assessment for the anterior, posterior, and of your chests. And then, prolonged expiration, mas matagal ang kanilang expiration. Orthopnea, and then there's also a congestion and hyperinflation seen on chest x-ray. So, pag nagpa-request ng chest x-ray yung doctor, the lungs is hyperinflated as compared sa normal na lung capacity pag nag-inflate. And then, congested din siya. For the ABG level, that would indicate a respiratory acidosis because of your carbon dioxide trapping and hypoxemia. Kasi lesser ang oxygen na pumupunta sa airway. And then pulmonary function tests that demonstrate a decrease in vital capacity. So when they do your PFT, mas mababa ang nagiging result niya. Management of your COPD, they always want to catch COPD as early as possible. So they assess and monitor the disease. Now, as much as possible, they want to reduce the risk factors para ma-prevent ang pagkaroon ng amplification of your COPD reaction. And then manage your stable COPD. So since COPD is still treatable, or yes, it is treatable, you have to manage now your COPD patients to be on a stable level. And then pag merong exacerbation na nag-occur, management of the exacerbation for COPD patients. Since it is irreversible, magkakaroon pa rin siya ng attack for the COPD. Now, our nursing interventions for patient who has COPD. First is to monitor the vital signs. Since it is a respiratory disorder, focus more on your respiratory system. So, RR, ang kanyang, the quality or the characteristic of the breathing pattern, and yung mga sounds na naproproduce if patient has a COPD or present ba yun sa patient. Administer a concentration of oxygen based on ABG values and oxygen saturation by pulse oximetry as prescribed. Normally, for patients who are suspected to be a COPD, we don't give a higher concentration of oxygen. We just give them 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 liters per minute per nasal cannula. Yun lang ang normal na pwede mong ibigay unless in-specify ng doctor na itaas. So that's a rule of thumb for your COPD patient during your oxygen therapy. Monitor the pulse oximetry. So check kung nagde-desat yung patient. Pag nagdesat, then you have to change the oxygen therapy. Kung nakakanula siya, baka kailangan na niyang mag-O2 mask or non-rebreather masks. Then, provide respiratory treatments and CPT. You do your CPT if the patient is able to kung kaya niyang kung kaya niya yung mga CPT na gagawin nyo. Then, instruct the client in a diaphragmatic or abdominal breathing techniques and pursed lip breathing techniques, which increases your airway pressure and keep the air passages open, promoting your maximal carbon dioxide expiration. Remember, your carbon dioxide is trapped sa airway mo, so we would like to release out certain amount of your carbon dioxide. So we do your diaphragmatic or your abdominal breathing techniques. Record the color, amount, and consistency of your sputum if meron lang naman. Kasi since sputum production is not common naman, may or may not ang sputum production. Then suction the client's lungs if necessary to clear the airway and prevent infection. Now, before you suction the patient, always hyperoxygenate the patient. So, alalahanin ang inyong naso-oral suctioning kasi i-implement nyo dito sa COPD patient nyo, lalo na pag increased ang kanyang sputum production. You monitor the weight since there will be a weight loss and kakek siya. So, pag nag-increase siya ng weight, much better. And then, encourage small frequent meals to maintain nutrition and prevent dyspnea. Now, provide your high-calorie, high-protein diet with supplements and encourage fluid intake up to 3,000 ml per day to keep secretions thin unless contraindicated. Now, if the patient has a COPD, is a COPD patient plus meron siyang cor pulmonal, baka contraindicated tong 3,000 ml per day niya. So, always check muna. Place the client in a Fowler's position and leaning forward to aid in breathing. So, this is the favorable position for a patient who is having a dyspnea or merong for our COPD patient. Now, allow activity as tolerated and you administer your bronchodilators as prescribed and instruct the client in the use of your oral and inhalant medication. So, remember your MDIs. For the bronchodilators, meron tayong tatlong classification, short-acting, and we have your intermediate acting and your long acting na bronchodilators, as well as your meter dose inhalants. Administer corticosteroids as prescribed for exacerbation. Administer mucolytics for the secretion to thin out, and administer antibiotics for infection pag meron siyang infection. Infection can be added pag or infection is the cause of your exacerbation for COPD patient. Now, for the medical management, they always aim for the risk reduction, which is your smoking cessation. Lagi nilang ini-request if able yung patient na i-stop na yung kanyang pag-i-smoke. Now, if the patient naman comes in on the hospital because of exacerbation, the management mostly of the doctor is oxygen therapy plus your pharmacological therapy. So, always remember, rule of thumb for the oxygen therapy for the patient, COPD patient, 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. Pero mas safe ka pag 1 to 2. And then for pharmacological management, we have your bronchodilators. Ano yung mga example of our bronchodilators? Example are your beta-adrenergic agonists, anticholinergic agents, and your methylxanthines. Pero ang nagiging star ng bronchodilators are your MDIs or your meter dose inhalers. For the corticosteroids, they can be an inhaled and systemic corticosteroids. So, pwedeng oral or intravenous ang inyong route for the corticosteroids. Ano yung mga ginagamit na corticosteroid? In the inhaled form are your beclomethasone, your budesonide, flunisolide, and your fluticasone and triamcinolone. So, other medications for your pharmacological management, sometimes the patient receives a alpha 1 antitrypsin augmentation therapy or antibiotic agents pag merong infection, mucolytic agents pag masyadong thickened ang kanyang secretion, and antitussive agents just to suppress the cough na masyadong irritating sa patient, na hindi na siya nakakatulog even at night kasi lagi siyang cough out ng cough out. And then patient are also encouraged to have yearly influenza vaccine and the pneumococcal vaccine every 5 to 7 years as preventive measures. Surgical management for our COPD. So, pwedeng magkaroon ng surgical management pero usually hindi na to ina-avail ng mga patients natin. For bulectomy, it is a surgical option for a select patients with bullous emphysema. The bullae or the bulla are enlarged airspace that do not contribute to ventilation but occupy space in the thorax. These areas may be surgically excised. So, tatanggalin yung bulla. And then, lung volume reduction surgery. This treatment is an option for patients with end-stage COPD or stage 3 with a primary emphysematous components are limited. Although lung volume reduction surgery is an option for a specific subset of patient, this subset includes patient with homogeneous disease or diseases that is focused in one area and not widespread throughout the lungs. And then, pwede rin, lung transplantation is a viable alternative for definitive surgical treatment of end-stage emphysema. It has been shown to improve quality of life and functional capacity for patient. Specific criteria exist for referral for lung transplantation. However, organs are in short supply and many patients die while waiting for a transplant. So, mahaba ang listahan basta may transplant, organ transplant. So, sabi nga, minsan yung mga naghihintay for lung transplant, namamatay na bago pa sila makahanap ng donor. For pulmonary rehabilitation for patients with COPD, just alleviate the symptoms and optimize the functional status of the patient. This may be used therapeutically in other diseases besides your COPD. That's all for your COPD.